Right now, someone in your life feeds off your emotional reactions, like a vampire feeds off blood. Whenever you get angry, frustrated, or upset around them, you give them what they need to survive and thrive. But what if I told you there's a way to become so dull and uninteresting that they'll lose interest in you completely and move on to easier targets? Here's the disturbing truth. Manipulators, narcissists, and toxic people are addicted to your emotional energy. They need your reactions to feel powerful and in control. But one technique cuts off their supply so effectively that they'll avoid you instead of targeting you. It's called the gray rock method, and it's about to change your life. In the next 30 minutes, I will show you how to become psychologically invisible to predators, why this technique is so devastatingly effective, and how to implement it without losing your authentic self. But I need to warn you, once you master this method, toxic people will start disappearing from your life automatically. Welcome back to Shadow Psyche, where we expose the daily dark psychology tactics used against you and teach you how to protect yourself. I'm Brian, and over the past 15 years, I've studied the psychological mechanisms that allow some people to become invisible to predators, while others remain constant targets. Today, we're diving deep into the gray rock method, one of the most powerful protection techniques ever developed for dealing with manipulators and toxic individuals. This isn't just about ignoring people or being rude. It's about understanding the psychological principles that make manipulators lose interest in their targets and using those principles to protect themselves. By the end of this video, you'll understand precisely how the gray rock method works, when and how to use it safely, and most importantly, how to implement it while maintaining your mental health and authentic relationships with healthy people. But first, let me be clear. This information is for protection and self-defense only. We teach recognition and defense, never manipulation or harm to others. The psychology behind gray rock. Why it works. Understanding narcissistic supply. To understand why the gray rock method is so effective, you need to understand what manipulators and narcissists are after. They don't just want to hurt you. They need something called narcissistic supply. The emotional energy, attention, and reactions they get from others feed their psychological needs. Narcissistic supply comes in many forms. Your anger when they provoke you, your tears when they hurt you, your confusion when they gaslight you, your desperation when they withdraw affection, and even your attempts to defend yourself or prove them wrong. Every emotional reaction you have is food for their psychological hunger. The gray rock method works because it cuts off this supply completely. When you become emotionally unresponsive and dull, you're no longer providing the psychological nutrition they need. Just like a parasite will leave a host without sustenance, manipulators will move on to more reactive targets. The attention economy of toxic relationships. Manipulators operate on what psychologists call an attention economy. They invest their time and energy into people who give them the most significant emotional payoff. You become a high-value target worth their continued investment if you consistently provide drama, reactions, and emotional intensity. But when you become gray and unresponsive, you become a poor investment. The manipulator starts getting diminishing returns on their efforts. They might escalate initially to get a reaction, but if you maintain your gray rock stance, they'll eventually conclude that their energy is better spent elsewhere. This isn't just theory. It's based on behavioral psychology principles. Intermittent reinforcement is one of the most powerful psychological tools for maintaining behavior. But when reinforcement stops completely, the behavior eventually extinguishes. You're training the manipulator to stop targeting you by providing zero emotional reinforcement. Why traditional responses fail. Most people try to deal with manipulators by fighting back, explaining themselves, or trying to reason with them. These approaches fail because they still provide a narcissistic supply. You give them attention and emotional energy when you argue with a manipulator. When you try to explain your position, you're engaging with their game on their terms. Even negative attention is still attention. A manipulator would rather have you angry and engaged than bored and disinterested. Your frustration validates their power over you. Your attempts to defend yourself prove that they're getting under your skin. Your emotional reactions are precisely what they're trying to provoke. The gray rock method succeeds where other approaches fail because it removes you from the game entirely. You're not fighting. You're not explaining. You're not reacting. You're simply becoming uninteresting enough that the game is no longer fun for them. Implementing gray rock, the complete technique. The core principles of gray rock. Gray rock is about becoming as emotionally unreactive and uninteresting as an actual gray rock. This means giving minimal responses, showing no emotional reactions, sharing no personal information, and avoiding any behavior seen as engaging or entertaining. The key is consistency. You can't be gray rock sometimes and reactive other times because that creates intermittent reinforcement, which makes the manipulator more persistent. You need to be consistently dull and unresponsive in every interaction. Verbal gray rock techniques. When implementing gray rock verbally, your responses should be brief, factual, and emotionally neutral. Use phrases like, "Okay, I see, that's interesting," or "I hadn't thought about that." Avoid asking questions that could lead to more extended conversations, and don't share opinions or personal information. If someone asks you a direct question, give the shortest, truthful answer possible. If they ask, "How was your weekend?" respond with "fine" rather than sharing details. If they try to provoke you with criticism, respond with, "I'll think about that," rather than defending yourself. The goal is to be polite but boring. You're not being rude or aggressive, which could escalate the situation. You're simply being so uninteresting that the conversation naturally dies out. Nonverbal gray rock strategies. Your body language is just as important as your words. Maintain neutral facial expressions. No big smiles, frowns, or looks of surprise or anger. Keep your posture relaxed, but not engaged. Avoid excessive eye contact, but don't avoid it either. Don't mirror their energy or emotions. If they're excited, stay calm. If they're angry, remain neutral. If they're trying to be charming, don't respond with warmth. Your goal is to be an emotional black hole that absorbs their energy without reflecting anything. Information diet protocol. One of the most critical aspects of gray rock is controlling what information you share. Manipulators use personal information as ammunition for future attacks. They'll remember your vulnerabilities, goals, fears, and relationships, and then use that information to manipulate you later. Share only the minimum information necessary for practical purposes. Don't talk about your relationships, work problems, health issues, or plans for the future. If someone asks personal questions, deflect with phrases like, "Things are fine," or "Nothing much going on." This information diet extends to social media as well. Please don't post about your activities, emotions, or personal life where the manipulator can see it. They'll use this information to find new ways to engage with you or provoke reactions. Advanced gray rock, dealing with escalation, the extinction burst phenomenon. When you first implement gray rock, many manipulators will escalate their behavior in what psychologists call an extinction burst. This is a temporary increase in the behavior you're trying to eliminate. They'll try harder to get a reaction because their usual tactics aren't working. This escalation might include aggressive provocations, attempts to involve other people, or even threats and ultimatums. They might accuse you of being cold, uncaring, or mentally ill. This is a sign that Grey Rock is working. They're getting desperate because they're not getting their usual supply. The key during this phase is to maintain your Grey Rock stance no matter what they do. If you break and give them a reaction during the extinction burst, you'll worsen their behavior by teaching them that they need to escalate more to get what they want. Dealing with flying monkeys. Manipulators often recruit flying monkeys, other people who will pressure you on their behalf. These might be mutual friends, family members, or colleagues who have been convinced you're being unreasonable or cruel by not engaging with the manipulator. When flying monkeys approach you, use Grey Rock with them as well. Don't explain your strategy or justify your behavior. Say, "I prefer to keep my interactions brief," or "I'm focusing on my well-being right now." Don't get drawn into discussions about the manipulator or their feelings. Remember that flying monkeys are often being manipulated themselves. They genuinely believe they're helping by trying to get you to engage. Don't take their pressure personally. Don't let them guilt you into breaking your Grey Rock stance. Maintaining Grey Rock in group settings. Grey Rock becomes more challenging in group settings, where the manipulator can use social dynamics to pressure you. They might try to put you on the spot, make jokes at your expense, or create situations where not responding seems rude or antisocial. You can acknowledge the group without engaging with the manipulator in these situations. If they make a joke at your expense, you can smile politely without laughing or responding. If they ask you a question in front of others, give a brief, factual answer and redirect attention elsewhere. The key is to be socially appropriate without being emotionally engaging. You want to avoid seeming rude to the group while maintaining emotional distance from the manipulator. When and how to use Grey Rock safely. Identifying appropriate situations. Grey Rock is most effective with people who have narcissistic traits, manipulative tendencies, or who seem to feed off drama and emotional reactions. It's beneficial when you can't avoid the person, such as coworkers, family members, or neighbors. However, Grey Rock isn't appropriate in all situations. It shouldn't be used with people genuinely trying to communicate with you about legitimate issues or in relationships where emotional connection is essential and healthy. Don't use Grey Rock to avoid all difficult conversations or emotional intimacy. The technique is specifically designed for people who consistently violate your boundaries, manipulate your emotions, or seem to enjoy creating conflict and drama. If someone respects your boundaries and treats you with genuine care, Grey Rock would be unnecessarily cold and potentially harmful to the relationship. Safety considerations and limitations. While Grey Rock is generally safe, some significant limitations must be considered. If someone has a history of violence or has made threats, Grey Rock might not be sufficient protection. You may need to involve law enforcement or seek professional help in these cases. Grey Rock can also be emotionally challenging to maintain over long periods. Suppressing your natural emotional responses can be draining and might affect your mental health if used excessively. Make sure you have outlets for emotional expression with safe people, and consider therapy if you're dealing with severe manipulation or abuse. Protecting your authentic self. One of the biggest concerns about Grey Rock is that it might change your personality or make you emotionally numb in all relationships. This is why it's crucial to be selective about when and with whom you use this technique. Maintain your emotional authenticity with people who deserve it. Be warm, expressive, and engaged with friends, family members, and colleagues who treat you respectfully. Gray rock should be a targeted defense mechanism, not a general approach to all relationships. Regular self-care and emotional processing are essential when using gray rock. Talk to trusted friends or a therapist about your experiences. Engage in activities that allow you to express your emotions freely. Ensure you're not losing touch with your authentic emotional self while protecting yourself from manipulators. Now that you understand the gray rock method, here's your immediate implementation plan. Action Step 1. The Target Identification Exercise. This week, identify one person who consistently drains your energy, creates drama, or seems to feed off your emotional reactions. Don't choose someone with whom you have a healthy relationship with occasional conflicts. Choose someone who shows clear patterns of manipulation or toxic behavior. Write specific examples of how this person provokes reactions from you and what kind of emotional energy they seek. This will help you understand their patterns and prepare for gray rock implementation. Action Step 2. The Response Preparation Protocol. Prepare a list of gray rock responses for everyday situations with your target person. Practice phrases like, "I see," "That's interesting," "I hadn't thought about that," and "I'll consider that." Have these responses ready so you don't have to think of them in the moment. Also, deflection techniques for personal questions should be prepared. Practice responses like, "Things are fine," "Nothing much is happening," or "I prefer not to discuss that." The more prepared you are, the easier it will be to maintain your gray rock stance. Action Step 3. The Gradual Implementation Strategy. Don't try to go from fully reactive to complete gray rock overnight. Start by reducing your emotional responses gradually. Begin with less charged interactions and work up to more provocative situations. Track your progress and notice how the person responds to your decreased reactivity. If you're consistent, you should start seeing changes in their behavior within a few weeks. Choose 3 interactions with your target person this week, where you'll practice gray rock responses. Start with lower stakes situations to build your confidence. Notice how it feels not to react emotionally and observe how the other person responds to your new approach. I want to hear from you about your experiences with emotional vampires and energy drains, but please be careful about what you share publicly. In the comments below, tell me what happened and if you've ever tried becoming less reactive with someone. Don't share specific details about people in your life, but let us know if you've noticed patterns where certain people seem to feed off drama and emotional reactions. If this video helped you understand why some people seem to target you for emotional manipulation, consider sharing it with someone you trust. Understanding these dynamics helps create healthier boundaries and more peaceful relationships for everyone. Next week, we're exploring how your mind gets hijacked through psychological influence techniques. You'll learn the specific mental processes that manipulators exploit and how to protect your decision-making from external control. If you found this deep dive into the gray rock method valuable, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We post new protection strategies every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and each video builds on the previous ones to create a complete psychological defense system. Give this video a thumbs up if it helped you understand how to become uninteresting to people who drain your energy. Your engagement helps us reach more people who need this critical information about psychological protection. Check out our complete dark psychology defense playlist for those ready to go deeper into manipulation defense techniques. We cover everything from recognizing toxic patterns to building unshakable boundaries. Each video provides specific, actionable strategies for protecting yourself in different environments. Remember, the gray rock method isn't about becoming emotionally numb or disconnected from life. It's about strategically protecting your energy from people who would exploit it. Save your authentic emotional self for people who deserve it, and become a gray rock to those who don't. Stay protected, stay authentic, and remember, you don't owe your emotional energy to anyone who doesn't respect and cherish it. I'll see you in the following video, where we'll explore how psychological influence techniques hijack your mind.